Welcome to another episode of One Step Beyond Reality. Well, ever since we've been sharing the unusual stories from the diary of Little Timmy, I get stopped all the time by listeners asking me, when will the next stories in this saga be released? Well, we take these comments seriously, of course, and even though Little Timmy's diary is one of momentous proportions, the work of breaking his entries down from the not unsubstantial chaos of much incoherent expressions, we certainly do plan to continue updating our Little Timmy saga well into the near future. That, fine listeners, I can assure you. And that being said, let us continue with the next installment of the Little Timmy Diary. Well, it was 2 a.m. on a chilly, cloudless night. Timmy stood there with a fully loaded 1980s Polaroid camera in his hand and wearing a Scottish kilt. He was determined to get proof, a picture of the elusive Mothman. Suddenly, a dark shadow came over him from just above his head, and he quickly pointed upward and snapped a picture. Timmy then ran as fast as he could, not waiting to see what he captured on the film. But as he rounded the corner, he stopped suddenly to catch his breath. But in the very hand that he was holding the camera now appeared a frozen monkey. Timmy never spoke about it much, but he'd been working on a prototype machine of untold power for nearly 5 long years, and now, as the dawn approached, it was time to give it its maiden test run. He slowly climbed into the seat, flipped on the main switch, moved the damper valve forward, and within seconds, the entire contraption burst into flames, and Timmy barely got away with his life. As he looked down at the rubble that was once his crowning achievement, he realized that time travel was nothing but a damn pipe dream. Well, it was this terrible, frightening sound that filled the night sky every evening just after sunset. Timmy had been hearing this haunting noise for nearly a week now, and it was time to find out what the hell was causing it. Armed with a baseball bat, a bag of marshmallows, 3 coconuts, and a lightsaber from his Star Wars toy collection, Timmy set out into the night. Within minutes, the terrible clamor began to fill the cold night air again. He could just barely calculate the direction of what he was sure was the origin of this hideous noise. With each new step, he approached closer and closer until suddenly, there it was right in front of him. A more gruesome sight he had never seen. Hanging upside down from a light pole, dressed in an old pirate outfit, strumming a ukulele and screaming some unrecognizable, ear-screeching tune, was Timmy's piano teacher. Timmy finally understood why, after 6 months of mind-numbing lessons, he still couldn't play a lick on that damn piano. Little Timmy finally figures out how to turn lead into gold. But he also soon finds out that lead is hard to come by because the government considers it very dangerous and can harm a person's health. Eventually, Timmy manages to get his hands on a sizable amount of lead and starts working it into gold. It's a long, drawn-out process, really, and after a couple of weeks, he starts feeling a little off. One morning, he wakes up feeling terrible and realizes he needs to go to the emergency room. After a few hours in the hospital and having a bunch of tests run, the doctor finally makes it back to Timmy's room and tells him he has some bad news to share. He tells Timmy he's suffering from lead poisoning, and if they can't find a liver donor match soon, he might not make it. As Timmy listens to the doctor's words, he begins to gradually lose consciousness. And then a thought comes into his head, and he thinks to himself, I wonder if I can turn gold into a liver.
This concludes another haunting episode of One Step Beyond Reality.